of you of a certain age, namely mine or older, will hopefully remember an old Harry Enfield sketch whereby he basically mocked old football. And what he would do is he recreated a scene from an old Blackburn Rovers versus Preston North End game, that sort of thing. And it would all be black and white, and it was all crackly and hazy. And the joke was that there were no tactics. All the players used to run around in a bunch. They'd all be chasing the ball, all in a bunch. You know, like when you're a kid and the coach on the sideline says, don't chase the ball, don't chase the ball. You've got to spread out. Basically, you've got to have some shape. You've got to have some form of tactics. The Harry Enfield sketch was that back in the day, football had no tactics. Of course, it was just a joke. It wasn't true. But it was a very, very funny sketch. I was reminded of that when I watched West Ham play against Everton, because it became completely apparent that David Moyes didn't have a Scooby-Doo how to impact the game. We'd gone a goal down, and we needed to break down Sean Dyche's Everton team. We had lots of possession, by the way. We had 64% possession. That's a big, big number for West Ham. But what did we do with that possession? Well, we had 2 shots on target. And you very much got the impression that they were really scrambled, almost unintentional attacks, if you like. One of them was a point blank save from Mohammed Kudus. The other one was Benrahma's shot very near. They were both very near the end, to be fair. But I got the impression that he was just throwing on attackers and throwing more people forward in a hope that something would happen, which is why it reminded me of the old Harry Enfield sketch. He threw Lucas Paqueta up front for a bit. Then he sort of changed his mind on that one. He'd taken off Mikel Antonio, and he was basically trying to do anything he could. I think at the end of the game, West Ham had Jarrod Bowen, Mohammed Kudus, Danny Ings, Lucas Paqueta, Benrahma. Am I missing anyone? I'm talking about attacking players here. There's 5 attacking players, right? Have I got that right? I think I have. 5 attacking players and 64% possession. We couldn't score a goal despite that. And by the way, these are not crap attacking players. I thought Kudus was pretty damn good. I think I think he'll be a good player for West Ham. He already is a good player. Lucas Paqueta is a wonderful player. Jarrod Bowen is an amazing footballer. And it's not to demean or diminish or belittle, either Danny Ings or Benrahma. They've both got their qualities. They really do. But I think if you're an attacking player playing in a David Moyes team, then it's hard work. Mikel Antonio said it best himself, didn't he? He said to play in the team for David Moyes, any striker's got to feed off scraps. And Antonio was feeding off scraps in that game. He really was. The amount of times I would look at him and he would make a run, he'd have his arm up and the ball would never arrive. I can go in quite hard on, I know I said it in the previous video, but I can go in quite hard on Mikel Antonio at times. But he really was completely and utterly starved of service, and I'm quite sure he'll score quite low in most people's marks for the game. But I thought one of the very few people whose fault it probably wasn't was Mikel Antonio. I'm not to say he played well, but I think actually Jarrod Bowen and Kudus really, really tried. But it was just a lack of cohesive strategy. It was a lack of direction. I think, and it was a lack of a tactical game plan where somebody could say, right, you're going to go into this position, you're going to go into this position, and this is how we are going to score a goal. This is how we're going to impact the game. If we follow this, to use an American term, to follow this playbook, if you want, for want of a better term. It didn't happen. I just felt he was throwing players on. It reminded me of Bilic a little bit. Bilic used to do it. But I felt he was throwing players on just in the hope that something would happen. And of course, nothing did happen at all. And I think David Moyes, I would hope, would be very, very disappointed with himself. I mean, I heard so many excuses on the radio on the way home yesterday. The worst thing that happened yesterday, as far as West Ham were concerned, in terms of the radio, was I think Manchester United being as bad as they were meant that the whole airwaves were all completely flooded by unhappy Manchester United fans. I didn't get much West Ham feedback on it. Heard a little bit of David Moyes' interview, and he was talking about how tough Everton are to break down, how good Everton are away from home. And he may well have a point, but it just always seems to be something. There always seems to be an excuse. And I looked at yesterday, and I just don't think he has any. I don't think he has any excuse whatsoever. He had so much talent at his disposal. And it's not just, by the way, it's not just that I had those 5 attacking players. I know Knife Gerd might not have covered himself in glory, but actually from an attacking perspective, I think Gerd launched 3 or 4 attacks. So David Moyes even had one of the defenders doing some creative stuff as well. And it was a bit of a shocker, really. But I think David Moyes should probably be a little bit embarrassed that he couldn't work out the puzzle of how to break them down. And I just wonder how that sounds to a player. Because a lot of these players are international players, so they'll have worked under other coaches, they'll have worked and been in positions where they've been trailing in a game and they've been given clear instruction from their manager or from their coach. So I wonder what they must be thinking about that as he's sort of chucking more and more players on. It felt in hope rather than any expectation or any clear defined strategy. One thing that really occurred to me during the game and left me really wondering what the hell David Moyes was doing on this one was in the second half, right where my seat is in the stadium, got a very, very good view of our left wing in the second half, right in front of me. So we got to see a lot of Benrahma because Benrahma was brought on. Time and time again, Benrahma was... So Benrahma's a funny one, right? Because Benrahma is very, very skillful, but he's not fast enough to regularly get past and beat his guy down the wing. Now, the trouble is with that, he's also not strong. So you probably need to be one or the other to be able to hold somebody off. Lucas Paqueta is not fast, but he is strong and he can hold people off. What would happen time and time again is Benrahma would be in a position to cross with his left foot and he would check onto his right. By that time, the defender's back in position. Well, not just the defender, all the defenders are back in position. The element of surprise is gone and everyone knows what he's going to do. The ball would get recycled so many times. It would get passed back as far as the centre-backs or the goalkeeper from a position where we were attacking. It was very, very, very bad. And I just couldn't understand why Moyes, who was clearly desperate to get a goal, which is why he was throwing attackers on, he was doing it far earlier than he normally does. I couldn't understand why he just didn't think, OK, I'm going to put a left footer on the left-hand side, a right foot on the right-hand side. I don't get it. I don't get it. And he could have done anyone. He could have done Kudus or he could have done Bowen on the left and he could have put Benrahma on the right. Because the fullbacks weren't doing it. The supply from Soufal was really bad. Cresswell, I think his best delivery was from a free kick, actually. So what you needed to do was really put some balls into the box. He brought Souček on. So Souček's on the pitch at the same time, get a left footer on the left-hand side, a right footer on the right-hand side, and start putting some balls in the box. It might not have worked. They were pretty dominant in the air. I thought West Ham were bullied, by the way. Really bullied off the ball. And that's fine. You will come up against teams who bully you. I think the thing is, though, that West Ham are meant to be that team. So they'll be... I thought Anana was really strong. I thought Decore was really strong. I thought Tarkowski, really, really strong physical players. I think if you've got a team of diminutive small players and you come up against them and they bully you, I think you just got to almost take it on the chin. I think that's just, it's one of those games that's going to happen. But when you are the bullies, and West Ham, that's how we've set ourselves up, to be defensive and to be the bullies. When you get bullied, we had no answer. I think in creative teams under creative instruction, players like Kudus and players like Paqueta, players like Bowen will thrive. But I think the moment your game plan doesn't work, you're in trouble. And it is almost like Everton said, there you go, you have the possession. And for all of that, 64% of the game, we had it. But what can we do with it? 2 shots right at the end on target. Everton had far less possession than us, and they had more shots on target. They had 4 or 5. Maybe you could suggest they played us our own game. Maybe they did. But I think there's a big difference here, and that is West Ham have invested a lot of money. We're meant to have very good players. We do have very good players. If Paqueta is probably going to leave, if all things being equal, and I don't know what's going to happen with the betting thing and all the rest of it, Paqueta's probably going to leave. And whoever gets him is going to get him for 85 million and have a bargain. He's a £100 million player in our team. David Moyes couldn't get the best out of him. Kudus is going to be a very good player. David Moyes couldn't get the best out of him. If someone had told you that Liverpool were prepared to bid £70 million for Jarrod Bowen, you wouldn't have disbelieved it. You wouldn't have thought, oh, wow, that's too much. He's only a £20 million player. You would have believed it. West Ham have got good players, is my point. Edson Alvarez was being lauded as, one of the best defensive midfielders around. West Ham got very, very good players, is my point. And the fact that despite all of that possession, we couldn't really muster much of a chance at all, I think is very, very concerning. I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow with a video about somebody about the leaks that have been going out at David Moyes. A certain number of games to save his job. I've got an opinion on that. Probably no surprise there. I'll talk about that tomorrow. Oh, just finally, Christmas jumpers. One more in a Christmas jumper. They're on pre-order on hammerschatstore.com, so you get a £5 off if you order them now. We need them on pre-order. So I know it seems silly, but Christmas is, in terms of ordering stuff, getting it manufactured, getting them made, getting them in the shop. Christmas is around the corner. Of course, it's not really around the corner, if you're waiting to cook your turkey. But we got to order this stuff and get it over the line. So once they're in the shop and once they're ordered, they'll be £5 more than they currently are. So you get a £5 discount now. Get the link is in the description below. It's hammerschatstore.com. We've got loads of stuff on there at the moment. But if you want to guarantee yourself getting one, and you want to get your Christmas jumper early, we've also got last year's on there. That's not on pre-order. You can just buy that. Take a look. Link is in the description below. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow.